Iran's natural spas. Hot springs in Iran. Iran enjoys a diversity of hot springs scattered all around the country. Each region offers its own features. Hot springs in Iran are quite attractive to tourists, and they offer a variety of curative aspects. Soaking in hot springs in Iran is not only relaxing, but also beneficial to one's health. Local people have believed in the medical features of these waters for years, and have treated many illnesses in these hot springs, which are scientifically proved today, and have brought about many people travelling for the health benefits of these springs. Genu Hot Water Spring. Genu is one of the hot springs of Hormozgan province, which is located about 13 kilometers north of Bandar Abbas and on the Hajiabad Road. Genu spring water with sulfur compounds is useful in relieving and improving some diseases, such as skin disease and rheumatism. Genu hot water comes out of the ground somewhere in the middle of the complex. This place is surrounded by a glass shield, and its water is transferred directly to the hot water pools. The water outlet of the pools, which also has a relatively large flow, is transferred downstream of the complex and the natural area. At first glance, this is not very attractive for nature lovers. But with the continuation of the path of hot water streams and leaving the complex environment, a pristine and beautiful atmosphere appears. Hot water streams of different colours with coloured sediments flow beautifully on the surface and finally enter a shallow valley and are transferred to downstream villages for agricultural use. There are beautiful gardens of palm trees at the end of the trail. Baliran Hot Water Spring. Baliran is the name of a village near Amol on the Amol to Babol road. The village is the last point of a forest road, followed by the pristine nature and untouched forests of Alborz. At a distance of about 5 kilometers from the village of Baliran, and in the middle of the forest, there's a hot spring which is another attraction of this forest. The hot water of Baliran forest, which is known as Garu hot water, is one of these sulfur springs, so that the smell of the sulfur can be felt from hundreds of meters before the spring. This hot spring does not have a high temperature and is only a few degrees warmer than the river downstream. Morteza Ali Spring. Hot springs can be seen in different parts of Iran, but perhaps in no part of Iran are there two springs with completely different temperatures next to each other. Springs that are located a few meters apart and have a temperature with significant differences. This extraordinary phenomenon is seen in the spring of Morteza Ali near Tabbas. Morteza Ali Spring is a collection of small springs that come out of the left wall of the mountain. The springs are not big enough to make you expect a pool. This water gradually enters the cold water river, which has boiled just before other springs, and gradually mixes with this cold water in a way that the heat of the water can be felt from a few hundred meters before Morteza Ali Springs. Karni Gravan. Water springs are one of the beautiful signs of nature that create plant and animal life around them. Many ancient civilizations and villages have been created due to the existence of water springs, and any change in these water resources can quickly have important effects on these communities. Some springs are famous for their greatness and abundant water volume. Some also come out of the ground because of the unusual temperature of the water, which is warmer or colder than expected. But in the meantime, there are springs that have created a different environment around them due to the outflow of mineral water. These water-soluble materials have gradually and slowly precipitated over thousands of years, creating special shapes. Carnigravan Spring is one of the beautiful examples that's been created due to the deposition of these minerals. In the upper part of this beautiful structure, there's a small and boiling spring from which water comes out and spreads all over the area. This water contains sediment-able compounds, and this factor has caused this spectacular phenomenon. Digi Rostam Hot Spring. The characteristic of Digi Rostam Hot Spring is that the water coming out of it is hot, a feature that exists in the few hot springs throughout Iran. The water of this spring is so hot that momentary contact with the skin can cause burns. The water coming out of the earth is so hot that the resulting steam is spread over a large area. The spring of Digi Rostam rises almost from the highest point of a dome-shaped hill, which is very surprising because water usually has to come out of the lower points. The volume of water output is not large, and after a few meters it spreads over a large area. Sediment caused by this water have created various colors on the surface of the earth, which has added to the attractiveness of the spring. Falakda Hot Spring. Right in the middle of the Dohazar forests, in the north of Iran, somewhere off the beaten track, there's an amazing hot spring that does not really attract a lot of people since it's not easy to access. Topographically, this hot spa has many low and high lands, adding to its beauty and diversity. The most significant feature of this hot water is the absence of sulfur. The Falkade area has a cool and foothill climate, which is very pleasant, particularly during the warm seasons. Badab Surt. Surt is a natural site in Jahardanga, some 95 kilometers south of the city of Sari, the provincial capital of Mazandaran. It comprises a range of stepped travertine terrace formations that have been created over thousands of years as flowing water from two mineral hot springs cooled and deposited carbonate minerals on the mountainside. As a result, over the course of thousands of years, the water from these two springs emanating from the mountain range have combined and resulted in a number of oranges, red and yellow-colored pools shaped as naturally formed staircase. The surrounding vegetation to the north consists of pine forests, while to the east it mainly consists of short trees and shrubs, and rock quarries can be seen to the west of the site.